Good evening. Today, my discussion is going to be on adaptation and limiting factors. Where there are limiting factors, there is going to be adaptation. Adaptation is one of the important components of living. The other two are consumption and reproduction. In fact, humans, they know too well about consumption and reproduction, but they don't know about adaptation. I think there are too many limiting factors going on in the environment, like scarcity of food, scarcity of water, loss of species, global warming, climate change, desertification. So all these are known as limiting factors. So we need to adapt, not adapting the environment to suit our own needs, but we need to adapt to other environments as animals and plants do. So anyway, a basic question I'm going to ask you: what are the limiting factors in an ecosystem? Limiting factors are the factors that limit production, primary producers. These are commonly nutrients, water, or light. In reality, it is more complex, but it is common to consider limiting factors in terms of Liebig's law. Liebig is a German scientist. Liebig is law of the minimum, which suggests that there will always be one resource that is in shorter supply than others. The supply of that limiting resource controls total population. That is Liebig's law. Light, sunlight, limits the energy available for carbon fixation. The most important nutrients are typically nitrogen and phosphorus. We add fertilizers to our fields to overcome this limitation or limiting factor. But if we add too much fertilizer, light or water becomes the limiting factor, and the extra fertilizer is wasted. Water is also very, very important, which is why we irrigate crops. Temperature limits growth rates, but not as long as the temperature still permits life and there is no net removal of biomass from the system. For example, from fishing or harvesting, the maximum biomass that can be achieved. There are many factors that intersect to create the unique ecosystem. Many of these are limiting factors, facets of the environment that serve to restrict the amount of biodiversity that can exist within the ecosystem. These limiting factors may be either biotic or abiotic, living or non-living. That is, limiting factors may either be associated with life or they may exist independent of life. Additionally, limiting factors can be densely dependent or densely independent. Now let us discuss about biotic limiting factors, that is, living limiting factors. In considering biotic limiting factors, it is prudent to discuss food webs and how they affect biodiversity. I'm going to take an example of one of the wonderful national parks in India, in South India, known as Bandipur National Park, which is situated in the state of Karnataka. Bandipur National Park is the conservation tiger project. It's a beautiful national park. It's a deciduous forest, plenty of trees, flora and fauna. is abundant. It is situated in the region of Western Ghats. So Bandipur National Park has a large population of tall, coniferous and deciduous trees, and so edible undergrowth is available, but it is not abundant because too many big trees, you don't get undergrowth. That means small plants or grass, they don't grow under the trees. As such, the amount of available energy for primary consumers is low. So that restricts the size of the consumer population of the park. The large populations of trees that are not major source of energy for consumers are to blame for this limiting factor. Algae in the river provide a large source of primary energy and are consumed by fish. And those fish are prey for many secondary consumers that live in the forest of Bandipur National Park. In this way, the algae in the river provide another source of primary energy for the ecosystem. Another example of a biotic limiting factor is the large population of trees that Bandipur National Park is home to. The large population of trees prevents the establishment of new populations of shrubs and undergrowth in Bandipur National Park because the trees block out much of the sunlight. Now let us discuss about abiotic limiting factors, that is non-living limiting factors. Abiotic limiting factors include many aspects of weather, including temperature, wind speeds, rainfall, and soil composition. These factors are inherent to the environment, but some of these factors may have been changed over time as a result of biotic activities. For example, the process of succession often alters the soil composition in ways that favor the introduction of new species. However, other abiotic limiting factors like rainfall and wind speeds are usually not affected by biotic processes. Abiotic limiting factors serve to restrict the possible biodiversity in an environment by placing constraints on the resource available in the climate. For example, deciduous trees. Deciduous trees means they change colors and also they shed leaves and the new leaves come. They are known as the deciduous trees. Deciduous trees will not be able to live in the desert because the abiotic limiting factors of the desert, like temperature and rainfall, do not permit for deciduous trees to grow. These factors dictate which species may survive in each ecosystem, and therefore they act to limit the diversity within that ecosystem. In Bandipur National Park, one abiotic limiting factor is the temperature and seasonal changes. Bandipur National Park still has discrete seasons, and during winter temperatures average 21 degrees Celsius and go below that at night, and in the summer temperatures can average around 40, even 46 degrees Celsius. These temperatures put restrictions on what animals can live in Bandipur National Park. Another abiotic factor is the rainfall. Bandipur National Park gets an average of 21 inches of precipitation per year, which is ample for many trees and types of undergrowth, but would be too much for many dry weather plants. On the other hand, plants from tropical regions would find Bandipur National Park too dry. These are only two examples of abiotic limiting factors, and there are many more. So anyway, limiting factors they dictate organisms how to live, where to live, and how to adapt. Adaptation is the important component of living. So I think humans, especially the one species Homo sapiens, has forgotten and not good in adaptation. And limiting factors are creeping up in his environment. And he has taken it as a creeping normalcy. And heat, no food, no water, it's a normalcy. So Homo sapiens is not at all alarmed. Other species have already employed the strategies of adaptation. They are smart. But so far, we don't even talk about adaptation. That is sad.